Hey everyone, it's Cece here, and in today's video tutorial I'm going to show you how to make one of these really gorgeous macrame bunny bags. Now the great thing about these cute little bunny bags is that you can make these to any size that you like. So the one that I'm showing you today is just for a small size one like this, which is great for like a little girl for Easter, or also just like a cute little clutch for yourself. But if you'd like to make it a little bit bigger, you can just add some strings onto the sides to make it wider, and then you can also add additional length to the strings as well to make it a bit deeper if you want. As I go through the tutorial, you'll be able to work out how you can make it a little bit bigger. And if you do have any questions about it as well, just leave me a comment below and I'll make sure to reply and answer your questions. So for these cute little bunny bags, you'll need two different types of cord. I've used a natural colored cord as well as a dusty pink color, and it's a single strand twisted cotton cord for both of those. And I have used a 3mm cotton cord. You could probably use a 4 or 5mm cord as well for this project and it would work out fine. It would just be a little bit bigger and chunkier if you used a bigger size cord. Now I'll put the exact lengths of the string you need in the description below, and I'll also mention what you're needing as we go through each step in the project. So now let's get straight into making one of these cute little bunny bags. So to start the project, you just want to take your 2-meter piece of cord and tie it around your clothes hanger so it's nice and tight, just in knots that are easy to untie. Then you want to take one of your 3.5-meter cords and just fold it in half. So I like to bring the two ends together and find the center like so. And then we're going to create a lark's head knot around that 2-meter cord so it's attached to the string. So we're just going to do this to each of the 3.5-meter cords. So you've got all 12 cords attached to that 2-meter string which is tied to your clothes rack. So you can see here I'm just finding the center of each cord and taking it over, using a lark's head knot, attaching it to that other cord like so. So now that we have all 12 cords attached, we're just going to start creating some square knots. I'm just starting with the first 4 cords in the group here and creating one square knot. And then I'm going to move on to the next 4 cords in the group and I'm going to create a square knot with these 4 cords. And then again the next 4 cords, creating a square knot with these 4 cords. I'm just going to continue in this fashion, so creating a square knot with each group of 4 cords until I have a full row of square knots. So now that I'm just finishing up with this first row of square knots, what we want to do next is create another row of alternating square knots underneath. So I'm just going to skip the first 2 cords and then move on to the next group of 4 cords and just create a square knot with these 4. So if you don't know how to create an alternating square knot pattern, make sure you check out my tutorial. I'll leave the link for that in the description below. But essentially you just want to create an alternating square knot with each group of 4 cords until you have a row that looks like this. So all we're going to do now is repeat these 2 rows over and over and over again to complete the length of our bag. So again, I'm going to start with the first group of 4 cords and create a square knot using these 4 cords. And then moving on to the next group of 4 cords, creating another square knot. And so I'm just completing that 3rd row of square knots and making sure that they're nice and neat and tight so the bag is strong. Alrighty, now going to create another alternating row. So again, skipping the first 2 cords and then creating a square knot with the next group of 4 cords. So now moving on to the next group of 4 cords and creating another alternating square knot. And we're just going to continue in this fashion, creating an alternating square knot pattern until we have the full length of the bag that we need. Okay, so here is our finished length of alternating square knot pattern. And I have created a total of 33 rows of square knots for this bag. And now we're just going to create a little bunny shape at the bottom here. So to create this bunny shape, I'm just going to start with these 4 cords here. So I've skipped the first 2 cords and I'm creating a square knot with the next group of 4 cords. And then I'm going to move on to the next group of 4 cords and create a square knot with these 4 cords. So I'm creating these 2 alternating square knots here. And then underneath these 2 alternating square knots, I'm going to grab the 4 cords here and just create another square knot underneath those 2. So it's kind of like I'm creating a bit of a triangle shape here. So for the other side, I'm going to skip the first 2 cords on the right and then use the next group of 4 cords to create a square knot. Just using the next 4 cords over to create the next square knot. And then same as the other side, I'm just going to use the 4 cords in the middle underneath these 2 square knots and create another square knot there. So we're again making this little triangle shape at the bottom of the bag. So now we're going to find the middle 2 cords, and I'm just going to take the one on the left and I'm going to use that as my filler cord to create this semicircle shape. And then I'm grabbing the next cord on the left and I'm using that one to create a double half hitch knot around that filler cord from the center. And so my aim here is to create that semicircle shape using double half hitch knots. So just grabbing the next cord on the left and then again creating another double half hitch, and then again grabbing the following cord on the left and creating a double half hitch knot with this cord. And so you can see that I'm starting to create this arch shape around the triangle of square knots using double half hitch knots and every single cord that is on the left hand side of the bag. The technique here to create that nice arch shape is to just keep that filler cord angled in the direction that you want the arch to go. So you can see that I am pulling that filler cord up as I'm creating the double half hitch knots, and that is what's creating that arch shape. So just continuing, still creating those double half hitch knots, making them nice and tight until I get to the very end. So I'm just finishing off my semicircle shape now, and it's looking really lovely. Just creating that last double half hitch. And now I'm just going to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side. So again, grabbing that center cord and using that as my filler cord to create a semicircle. And I'm just going to create a double half hitch knot with all the cords on the right hand side of the bag now. Alrighty, so both of these semicircles are just about finished. I'm just completing this last double half hitch knot. And so now we have these cute little bunny cheeks, and we're just going to add a nose now with a pink cord, which is about 50 centimeters in length. So I'm just going to take the end and put it through this hole here. So I'm feeding it through at the center point, just above the cheeks that we've made, around that center square knot there. And then I'm going to take the other end and then feed it back through to the front from the back. So it's kind of like I'm weaving this pink cord around that square knot. And so taking the same end, going back through that first hole, and I'm just continuing to weave this pink cord. And now I'm just going to take it through so it makes a line across the square knot. And I'm just taking this end again back through the first hole and continuing to create layers with this pink cord. So essentially I'm making a cute little bunny nose, which I hope you can see the little shape of. Weaving around and around until I'm happy with the shape of the nose. Alright, here is my finished little bunny nose shape, and so now I've just flipped the piece to the back and I'm grabbing those two ends, which should both be around on the back side of the bag, and I'm creating a double knot here, or a reef knot. Now my tip would be to make that first end a little bit longer than what I have, because I made it fairly short, so it's a bit hard for me to create that knot with. Perfect, so just cutting these two ends nice and close to that double knot, and then that nose will be secure in place. So I'm super happy with the little nose, and so now I just have to trim these cords, and I'm going to trim them in a similar shape to the cheeks, so like two semicircles. And now I'm just going to take a comb and brush out the cords so they're nice and fluffy. Just taking my time to make the ends of the cords look really lovely. Alrighty, so now the main part of the bag is all finished, and I've untied those two ends of the 2-meter cord from the clothes hanger, so I can take it off and fold it into shape now. So you can see that the bag folds up really nicely. And what I'm going to do now is line up these holes that are in the side of the work. So you'll see that there are holes on either side, and we're going to use those to stitch the bag together. And so just lining up this other side as well, we're going to use that cord up the top there to stitch the bag together. So there'll be a total of 6 holes along the side that we're going to use to stitch up. So I'm just going to take this string on the side. This is the string that we used earlier to tie to the clothes hanger. And you just want to come up from those 6 holes to the 7th hole above the cord. And we're going to feed the end through that 7th hole. Make sure you pull it all the way through. And then again, I'm going to bring it around and bring that cord through that next hole down and pull it all the way through. And I'm going to loop the cord around again and then feed it through the same way, through the same hole as well. So because of the size of the holes on the sides there, it's best to do each hole twice. So just looping this string back through that next hole once and then again twice, and pulling it all the way through so it's nice and tight. So you can do this with a needle that has like a large hole for this kind of cord. I'm just using my hands today. I couldn't find my big needle, but the hands also work fine. It might take a little bit longer than if you had a needle, but it is doable. So you can see I'm just continuing to weave this cord through the side of the bag. And if you need to, you can grab the cord and just pull it down so it stays nice and tight. And so now I'm coming to the end of the bag here. So I'm on my last stitch. And so now to finish this off, I'm just going to again feed the string through this hole here on the corner of the bag. So I'm not going all the way through the other side. I'm just pushing it into the middle and then turning the bag inside out. And then you can see the bag's looking really nice and neat, all tied up. So I just need to pull out that last stitch and use the end of my cord to create a knot to hold it in place. So I'm just creating a bit of a double knot here, not being too precious about it, but something that is strong and that will hold that stitching in place on the inside of the bag. I'm just doing an overhand knot here as well. Just one final knot to hold it all in place at the bottom. And cutting that end off nice and close to the knot, so that's all finished. So just turning the bag the right way so it's back out, sitting nice and flat. You can make sure that knot is sitting on the inside by just poking it back in through the hole if it comes out. And there is my stitched up side. So now I just have to repeat exactly the same thing on the other side of the bag. So again, feeding that string through the 7th hole to start, and then lining up the other 6 holes and taking my cord through each hole and doing 2 stitches per hole. So just finishing off the corner of this side of the bag again. So again, I'm just going to feed that end through into the inside of the bag, turn the bag inside out, and then create a knot using that last stitch so everything is nice and secure. Okay, so just turning the bag back out, and now my stitching is all finished and the bag is complete in one piece. So now we get to create the cute little bunny ears which go on top. And to do this, we start with a 1 meter piece of pink cord, and we're going to fold it in half so that one side is 25 centimeters and the other is about 75 centimeters. And then we're going to grab a white piece of cord which measures about 80 centimeters in length, and we're just going to hold it so it's about 10 centimeters above this loop here with the pink cord. So we're just going to clip these 2 cords so that they're sitting with that 10 centimeter length and that loop together. And your longest cord will be on the outside and your short pink cord will be in the middle. So we're going to work with these 2 outside cords to create some knots, and you just take the cord over, around the middle cord and pull it up and through. And so then we're going to use the white cord next, bring it over the middle pink cord, pull it through and bring it all the way up. It's kind of like a half hitch knot. So we're again going to then grab the pink cord, knotting it over and pulling it through, and then again the white cord, bringing it over and then looping it around and through. Essentially we're going to keep alternating between the white and the pink cords, and we're going to keep doing so until we have a length of knots that measures between 13 to 15 centimeters. Alright, so now I have a length of about 14 centimeters, so roughly around that length, and you want to make sure that you're ending on a white knot. And I am just going to add another white knot in here just to fill in this little loop. So to do that, I'm just going to grab the white piece of cord and I'm going to put it through the loop there so that it fills in this loop. And also I wanted to start on the white, so I should have probably started on the white to begin with. But anyway, we're just going to feed it through the back and then bring the end through that
loop there and pull that tight, and that's essentially the same knot done in reverse. So now that both ends finish on that white knot, we can bring the two ends together. So you can see that my two pink ends will meet in the middle here, and I've got a cute little bunny ear. So to join these together, the two ends, I'm just going to take this pink string here and I'm going to feed it through this loop on the other side. So just grabbing that end and putting it through the loop, pulling it nice and tight, and as you can see, that will bring the ends together. So now I'm just going to flip that over to the back and then tie these two pink ends together using a double knot or a reef knot, making sure it's nice and tight. And so now our bunny ear is joined together. Just need to cut these ends now. So flipping it back over, grabbing my scissors, and I'm just going to cut the ends nice and close to that knot so the bunny ear is neat. Great, so now that that ear is finished, I just need to make one more and then we'll have both ears ready to attach to the bag. Okay, so I've made both ears and now I'm ready to attach them to the bag. So I'm just going to open it up, and what we're going to do is feed those two white cords from the ears into the holes at the top of the bag here. So just working out now which two holes will work best. And so what I'm going to do is just count up 4 square knots and then put the strings through those first 2 holes. So essentially we're tying the bunny ear around one of the square knots in the bag. So now that I've fed those strings through, I'm just going to flip the bag over and then attach the ears by creating a double knot with these 2 ends. So just using the reef knot and pulling it nice and tight so it's secure in place. You can see that it's attached. So I'm just going to cut these 2 ends so it's neat. And there we go. So now I'm just going to work out where to attach it on the other side. So counting up 4 square knots and then attaching it to the right in the same place. So finding those first 2 holes, feeding the ends through for my other ear. And then flipping the bag over to tie it in place. Remembering to tie it nice and tight. Alrighty, so here we are, we've got our 2 ears attached, and now you can see our bag is looking a lot more like a cute little bunny rabbit. The final step now is just to create a strap for the bag. So here I have a 10-meter piece of cord. I'm just going to grab the 2 ends of the cord and fold it in half, so I'm finding the center of the cord. And then with this loop here, I'm going to attach it to the bag right along. It would be that 7th hole that we used to thread through when we were sewing the bag together. So I'm creating a lark's head knot with the pink cord around that side loop like so. So essentially you end up with something that looks like this. You'll have your pink cord attached to the loop on the side of the bag, just above the opening of the bag. And so now I'm going to bring my cord around and just measure out how long I want my strap to be. So for my bag, I'm going to make the strap about 85 centimeters in length. And so once I've worked out that length, I'm just going to take the ends of the pink cord and feed them through the same loop on the opposite side. So we're looking for that loop at the bag opening, and we're just feeding those ends through that loop, pulling them all the way through, and we're going to fold that over so I've got my length of strap, and then I'll have those two longer ends coming through. Now I'll take those two longer ends and bring them to either side of the strap, and what I'm going to do is use those longer ends to create some square knots. So I'm just creating a square knot now around that length of strap. And what I'm going to do is essentially cover that whole strap in square knots using these two longer cords to create the square knots. Alrighty, so here is my finished strap, and I actually added a couple little spiral knots on either side of the strap just for an added detail. So if you like the look of that, you can also just throw in some spiral knots in your strap along the way. And now I have these two ends on the opposite side, so I've knotted all the way around to the other side of the bag, and these two ends I'm going to feed back through that loop that we put that Larks head knot on. So you can see I'm just pushing both ends through that loop there. And so now we're going to use these two ends to create a tassel. So I'm just going to create an overhand knot using these two strings, tying it at the place where I want my tassel to hang. So it's about 5 or so centimeters down from the strap. And then I'm grabbing my short lengths of cord, which are about 20 centimeters in length each, and feeding them through that loop. And I've got 4 there, so I might add an extra 2 just because I want it to be a little bit thicker. So just grab some extra cords and feed them through as well. And now I'm going to tie them all together using a wrap knot. So I've got about a 50 centimeter length of cord here, and I'm just using this cord to create a wrap knot. Now if you don't know how to create a wrap knot, I do have a tutorial for that knot, so make sure you check that one out as well. I'll leave a link to that tutorial in the description below. And you just want to make sure you're creating a really tight wrap knot, which is nice and neat. And so I'm just pulling the end of that loop through now. And what I'd like to do is hold on to the two ends from the wrap knot so I don't get them confused with my other ends. And then pull lightly on all the other ends inside the tassel. And what this does is just neaten up the top of the tassel. So you can see my loops at the top are getting pulled through. And any ones that are kind of like baggy or loose at the top will come down and the tassel will look a lot nicer. So once that's finished, you can just continue pulling down that little loop so it comes inside the wrap and is locked into place, and then cut the end so it's all finished. Now we just need to trim the tassel, so I'm just going to grab my scissors and trim it so it's all one length at the bottom. Beautiful. And so now we have a finished little bunny bag. I think it's so cute, and I'm sure you will love making this one as much as I did. Remember, you can always make these a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller depending on the size of the bag that you'd like.
So there you have it, guys. That's how you make one of these really cute macrame bunny bags. I hope that you have enjoyed today's tutorial and you'll give one a go for yourself at home. Thank you so much for watching, and here's to finding our peace and creativity.